Welcome to the step Personnel of InnoverUK's CE Wizard. After this step, you'll meet all requirements of the clause 6.3.2 Personnel of EN 1090-1. In addition, we will glance over some of the mandatory qualification requirements from EN 1090-2. But we'll go over these in more detail a bit later when talking about manufacturing and welding. In short, the standard requires that all responsibilities, authority, and relationship between your employees has been defined. In addition, you must make sure that your employees have appropriate qualifications to perform their work. To meet these requirements, you're going to need 3 documents. First, the FPC Manual Section 3.1. Second, Personnel Qualifications and Organization. And third, Qualification Requirements. As we've already downloaded the FPC manual in the previous step, you'll only need to download the other 2 from the sidebar. After you've downloaded the files, move them into the subfolder P Personnel and Organization that we created in the previous step. In this folder, we will store all files that have something to do with your employees' qualifications of experience. In addition, we've included a few optional documents that are internal training, training document, and managerial audit. I recommend that you download these files, even though they're marked as optional, and we'll not go over them in detail in this training. But you can use the internal training document to record trainings that you organize within your organization. One good example is the FPC system training, where you'll go over the main requirements to your employees. Then we have the training document that can and should be used to record all one-on-one trainings that you organize to your new and old employees. This document can also be used to record the individual trainings that you organize for your employees about the FPC system. The last document is the least mandatory, and in most cases we omit it from our projects. But some notified bodies require you to organize managerial audits where you check that everything works as they should and that your processes are up and running. But I think this is enough about these documents. But now open your FPC manual and navigate to Section 1. Here we name the person who will be responsible for your FPC system. If you have several locations, name someone to be responsible for each location. And naturally, if you want to, this can be the same employee. In most cases, this employee is also responsible for the CE markings. But if you think that this is too much for one employee to handle, you can name another employee to be CE responsible. After this, navigate to Section 3.1, where we have included a section that describes how you're planning to control your company's human resources. You'll probably notice that this section, like a majority of your FPC manual, doesn't require any major modifications at all. It's specific enough to meet the standards requirement, but at the same time generic enough so that we're able to guess how your company operates. Now we need to fill out the organization chart that we use to define the relationship between your employees. There isn't really any proper way to do this, but a good way is to place the name of the employee in the box who is in charge of the specific function. If you want to, you can always add more boxes both horizontally and vertically. These new boxes can include totally new tasks like billing or go into more detail like cutting, assembly, and final inspection under manufacturing. At this point though, you can leave the box for the responsible welding coordinator empty, as we'll return to it later when we are talking about welding. After you're done, the chart should look something like this. After you've filled out the organization chart, make sure that the responsibilities in the table below are correct. Here the key is to make sure that you define the employees who are responsible to intervene if there are non-conformities. It's recommended that you authorize, and at the same time require every single employee to intervene if there are any major non-conformities. In a way, we have included this table just to support what we will do in the file Personnel Qualifications and Organization. As one of the standard's mandatory requirements is to keep track of your employees' qualifications and experience, we have added a mention of this in the FPC manual just below the table. In addition, you may notice that we have included sections in the FPC manual for identification of training needs and training of new employees. But we are not going to go over this in the training video. These are highly recommended and are here in a way to remind you that you must make sure all of your employees are qualified and teach new employees how the FPC system works. Now you can save and close the FPC manual as we're done with it. Next, navigate to the file that we previously downloaded called Personnel Qualifications and Organization. This document consists of 4 different tables that are 1. The table for employees' responsibilities and authority. 2. The table for employees' qualifications and experience. 3. The table for your subcontractors. and 4, the table for welding coordinators. The first table, Responsibilities and Authority, is used to assign employees responsibilities and authority. Now assign the tasks listed in the table to someone. Naturally, you don't need to list each employee here, just the ones who have the ultimate responsibility of the given task. Also include one or more assistants for each task. If you don't know who the party responsible employee is, think of it like this. If the responsible person is on vacation, who will be the one covering for them? You can basically do this any way you choose, and after you're done, it should look something like this. The second table, Own Staff, is used to list your employees and record their experience and qualifications. Now list each and every employee who participates in one way or another in the order to delivery process. This includes design engineers, buyers, managers, human resource department, etc. Technically, just list everyone here. For now, you can leave the columns for welding related qualifications and the eyesight for NDT blank, as we'll complete them in another step. The listing should look something like this. The third table, Subcontractors, is used to control your subcontractors. Now it's sufficient if you list every subcontractor who participates in the manufacturing of structural steel products. These include, for example, thermal cutting and painting. You can leave the column Approved Supplier blank at this time, as we'll complete it later when we discuss about purchasing and subcontracting. The completed table should look something like this. At this time you can leave the fourth table alone, as we'll complete it later when discussing about welding. It'll be used to define the responsible welding coordinator's tasks and authority in more detail. Now, after you've completed the first 3 tables, you can save and close the document. Like I already mentioned in the beginning, we have some mandatory qualification requirements for some of the key tasks. So in other words, you cannot freely decide who is qualified and who isn't. But don't worry, we have included all mandatory qualification requirements in the file Personnel Qualification Requirements. At this point, however, we'll not go over these requirements in depth, and instead, we'll go back to them later. I just wanted to mention that we have included all standard mandated qualification requirements in this single document. But if you have other tasks that are not already included in a document and want to define qualifications for them, list them in this document. But please do not alter the existing requirements. After you're done, just close the document and you're done with personnel. Now we're done with the standards requirements for personnel. We have defined authority, the relationship between your employees, and also the qualification requirements. Just remember to keep these files up to date and later make sure that your employees meet the qualification requirements. Now you can save and close all documents you still have open, and then you can move on to the next step.